Welcome to the Preparing the Data File lesson on the Montana Early Warning System. This lesson is specifically designed for schools that have PowerSchool as their student information system. If you are not a PowerSchool user, there are other lessons on the data file preparation that will suit your needs. In this lesson, we will cover how to prepare the data file that needs to be uploaded into the GEMS to use in the EWS. If you have any questions or concerns about the Montana Early Warning System, please contact Eric Meredith. The upload process can be found on the EWS overview page, but only in GEMS secure site. This is the only difference between the secure and the public version of GEMS on the EWS overview page. There is a space in the secure version to upload your data file. The data file is in an Excel spreadsheet and must be in a specific format. The Early Warning System data file template is available for download on this page and shows the correct file format. We will cover more on the format of this file later in this lesson. There are about 10 data elements that must go into the data file. 9 of them are variables about each student, and 1 is the identifier, so the EWS knows which student to attach the data to. The identification variable is the state student ID number. The other 9 are attendance, grades, and behavior data that the OPI does not collect for each individual in the state. This data is needed to use in the EWS. However, it is not a requirement to have data on every variable for every student. The EWS has measures that account for missing data. For example, if a student is new in your school, you may not know the number of Fs the student received during the previous term. The EWS will account for this. However, the more accurate and complete the data is for each student, the better the EWS results will be. Here are some specifics on each data element, including examples of how that data element should look. However, most of the data variables are self-explanatory. One key thing to recognize in many of these variables is that it uses a count of events in a certain amount of days. Those are calendar days, not school days. So, for example, the number of absences in the past 60 days is not over the past 60 school days, but the past 60 calendar days, or roughly 2 months. The only exception to this is that days over the summer break are not counted as calendar days. This is done so that at the beginning of the school year, the student count will not always be 0, and will actually look at the last 60 calendar days of the previous school year. We should also clarify what credits year and on track mean. These two variables are both used in the EWS and are related to one another. The credits per year variable is exactly what it says, the number of high school credits earned towards graduation per year. So, for example, a junior at the beginning of the school year that has earned 12 credits has a credit per year of 6, or 12, divided by 2. This variable is updated at the end of every semester. On track is a variable to determine if a student is on track to graduate, based on the number of credits they have earned. This variable is just a yes or no variable. On track does not take into effect what those credits are, just the total credits. So a student missing an English class could potentially still be marked as on track. On track uses the credits per year variable to determine if the student is on track. For example, a school requiring 22 credits to graduate would mean a student needs an average of 5.5 credits per year or more to attain that. If their credits per year is above 5.5, then they are on track to graduate. It is also very important to understand that there is a difference between a blank space in the data file and a 0. A blank space designates that the specific data variable for that student is unknown. A 0 designates that the count of that data variable is in fact 0. For example, a student with no A grades received in the previous term will have a 0 in the column for previous term A's. And a student where it is not known how many A's the student received in the previous term will have a blank space in that column. This is an important difference in getting the correct results for the EWS. Here's an example data file for 10 students. Each row in the Excel spreadsheet designates a different student, which is identified by their student ID number. The state ID is listed first, followed by the 9 data variables for each student. It is important that the columns are listed in the specific order provided in this slide. The order is also available in the data file template available on the EWS overview page in GEMS. You may notice in the example that some of the data is blank and not filled in. In certain cases, such as when a student changes schools, you may not have all of the data elements needed. The EWS still works without all of the data. However, the more data you provide, the more accurate the results will be. It is also important to notice that the difference between the zeros in the spreadsheet and the blank spaces. A 0 means the count is in fact 0. A blank space means the data is not available. It is also important that the sheet name in your Excel spreadsheet is EWS. If you try to upload the data file into GEMS without the correct sheet name, you will get an error and the data will not upload. The sheet name can be changed in Excel in the bottom of the left-hand corner, and the default name is Sheet 1. The sheet name is not shown in this example provided on the slide. Now we need to extract the required data from PowerSchool. The OPI has worked with several districts across the state that use PowerSchool in order to develop a script that will pull the data from your student information system that is needed for the EWS system. Since PowerSchool is highly customizable, the script will require some slight changes that are specific for your system and how you have things set up. Please contact Eric Meredith at the OPI via phone or email shown on this slide to get a copy of the script. The OPI can provide some technical support with this. We can also connect you with PowerSchool users from the districts that developed it or have successfully used the script for additional help. Once the script is changed for your student information system, there will only be minimal changes and time needed to run the script anytime you wish to use it again in the future. This concludes the lesson